There comes a moment in your life when you stop waiting for permission, when you stop negotiating with fear, stop apologizing for your power, and you decide right here, right now, that nothing will stand in your way. Not because the world suddenly got easier, not because the obstacles disappeared, but because you made a decision to show up differently, to move, think, and speak as if failure isn't even an option. As if the world is bending to your will, not because you're lucky, but because you're committed. This is not about arrogance. It's about certainty. It's about owning a mindset so strong that the world has no choice but to follow your lead. You want to change your life? Learn to act as if nothing can stop you and watch the world transform in response. It all starts with a decision, not a hope, not a wish, not some vague intention, but a real decision made with absolute certainty that you will no longer tolerate a life of playing small. That from this moment forward, you are going to carry yourself as if nothing can stop you. See, most people are waiting for something external to give them permission to go all in. They wait for more clarity, more money, more support, more confidence, thinking once those pieces fall into place, then they'll move. But the truth is the external never comes first. Power is not found out there. It begins inside. It begins when you decide to step into a version of yourself that refuses to be held back by fear, excuses, or doubt. This isn't about pretending challenges don't exist. It's about knowing that your belief is the first domino. When you adopt the mindset that nothing can stop you, you're not ignoring reality, you're shaping it. You're declaring that regardless of what stands in your way, you are the kind of person who finds a way through, over, around, or beyond. Most people operate with a foot on the brake just in case it doesn't work out, just in case someone laughs, just in case they fall short. But let me tell you, if you want to build a life that's extraordinary, you've got to rip that brake out. Burn the backup plan. Decide with your entire being that forward is the only direction. You don't wait to feel ready. You don't wait to feel confident. You act as if you are already the person who's unstoppable. And the world starts responding to that energy. You condition it. Every decision you make either reinforces the story that you're limited or it reinforces the story that you're powerful beyond measure. And you get to choose which one you feed. People always ask, how do I get more confidence? You decide to show up boldly before the confidence is there. That's the paradox. Confidence isn't a prerequisite. It's a result of taking action in spite of doubt. You build it by moving, by risking, by pushing through the discomfort, not by thinking about it. Look around at anyone who's done something great. They weren't handed belief on a silver platter. They forged it in fire. They stumbled. They got rejected. They heard no 100 times. But they made a decision that they would not stop, that they would keep showing up, keep growing, keep adapting, no matter what. And that decision created momentum. That decision became identity. And that identity became destiny. You can have that too. But you got to stop playing on defense. You got to stop asking, what if it doesn't work? And start declaring, what if this is exactly what I was born for? There's a moment in every transformation when things don't make sense yet, when the outer world doesn't match the inner vision. That's where most people quit. They interpret the lack of results as a sign that it's not meant to be. But those who act as if nothing can stop them, they don't stop because of what they see. They persist because of what they believe. They understand that belief isn't reactive, it's directive. Your belief tells the world how to treat you. It tells opportunities whether or not to show up. It tells your nervous system whether to shut down or rise up. When you walk into a room with the energy of someone who's decided they will win, people feel it. Life responds to that decisiveness. The truth is, we've all been conditioned to play it safe. We're told not to stand out, not to be too much, not to want too big. And that conditioning becomes invisible walls around our potential. But the moment you make a real decision, a decision backed by action, you shatter that invisible cage. You realize it was never real. The limitations you thought were keeping you stuck were just thoughts, just stories, just patterns you inherited or picked up along the way. And patterns can be broken. Beliefs can be rewritten, but only when you stop dabbling and start declaring. So ask yourself, what would it look like if you fully committed? If you stopped hesitating, stopped questioning your worth, and started behaving like someone who cannot be defeated? How would you speak? How would you carry yourself? What would you dare to try? What would you finally walk away from? And more importantly, how fast would your life change if you lived from that place? Because here's the truth, you don't need more time, you need a decision. A decision that this is your time, that this is your season, that the version of you who's been hiding is done waiting and ready to lead. When you decide to act as if nothing can stop you, the game changes. Not because challenges disappear, but because you stop treating them as evidence that you're not enough. You start seeing them as the training ground for your greatness. You don't flinch at resistance, you welcome it because you know what it means. It means you're growing, it means you're stepping up, it means you're doing something that most people aren't willing to do. Bet on yourself without guarantees. And that's what separates those who dream from those who achieve. One real decision made with total certainty, followed by relentless action. Everything begins with that. Everything changes when you decide that no matter what shows up, you're going through it, around it, beyond it. You're unstoppable because you've decided to be. And that decision is the spark that ignites your transformation. Some emotion is the fuel of action. People often think they need to wait until they feel ready, feel motivated, feel confident before they can take that big leap. But the truth is, motion creates emotion, not the other way around. If you sit around hoping that the right feeling will strike you like lightning, you'll be waiting a very long time. The people who make things happen, the ones who build unshakable momentum in their lives, are the ones who understand that emotion doesn't just happen, it's generated. And the fastest way to generate it is to move, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You shift your state and your entire life begins to shift with it. The way you use your body, the tone of your voice, the focus of your mind. These are tools, powerful tools. You can either use them to paralyze yourself with fear or energize yourself with purpose. Every day you have a choice. Do I let my emotions control me or do I use my emotions to drive me? When you learn to master your state, everything becomes possible. You stop needing everything around you to be perfect. You stop waiting for life to hand you a good day. Instead, you create one. You generate energy. You choose focus. You decide how you show up. And that decision changes how you experience everything else. So many people are stuck not because they lack ability, but because they're living in a state of hesitation. They're in their heads, overthinking, overanalyzing, questioning every move. And in that state, nothing moves, nothing grows. It's like being stuck in a car with the engine running, but never shifting out of park. You've got the power, but you're not going anywhere. But what happens when you slam the pedal down? What happens when you start to move? You change your state. You begin to feel alive. Suddenly fear shrinks and clarity expands. That's what happens when you act first and let the emotion follow. Don't wait to feel like a leader. Start leading. Don't wait to feel courageous. Do the thing you fear and courage will rise to meet you. It's backwards from what most people believe, but it's how real transformation works. You generate the emotion through the action. You prime your nervous system. You train it to respond differently, powerfully, decisively. When you feel low on energy, don't collapse into it. Stand up, breathe differently, move your body, demand more from yourself. You'd be shocked at what just 30 seconds of intentional state change can do. Your physiology, your thoughts, your emotions. They are all connected, and when one shifts, the others follow. Think about a time when you were unstoppable, when you felt on fire, alive, in flow. Was that state something you stumbled into, or was it the result of something you did? Maybe it was a breakthrough moment. Maybe it was a big win. Or maybe it was just you finally taking that first step after being stuck for too long. That feeling didn't just come out of nowhere. It was triggered. It was activated by motion. That's why waiting is dangerous. Waiting kills dreams. It creates patterns of passivity, and passivity becomes identity. But when you move with purpose, when you push through in spite of resistance. You build a habit of activation. You teach your brain that you are in control of your energy, not the world, not your circumstances. This is the mindset of someone who acts as if nothing can stop them. They don't ask, do I feel ready? They ask, what can I do right now to step into a more powerful state? They use everything around them, music, breath, movement, gratitude, vision, to snap into a place of strength, because they understand that the quality of their decisions, the quality of their execution, depends entirely on the state they're in when they act. So they prime themselves. They prepare their mind the way a warrior prepares for battle, not hoping to feel good, but training to perform regardless of how they feel in the moment. People often think success is about having the right strategy. Strategy matters, yes, but strategy without the right state is useless. You can hand two people the exact same plan. One will take off like a rocket. The other will barely move. Why? Because of state. Because one person learned how to harness their emotions and the other is still a prisoner to them. When you're in a state of certainty, drive, and purpose, even imperfect action moves the needle. But when you're in a state of doubt or fear, even the best plan will be sabotaged by hesitation. So make the decision that from this moment forward, you will be the kind of person who generates their own momentum, who doesn't wait to feel it, but creates it. You breathe differently, you speak differently, you move differently. And as you do, something inside you changes. That unstoppable version of you, the one that's been buried under doubt and overthinking, starts to emerge. The real you, the powerful you, the one who doesn't ask for permission, who doesn't back down, who doesn't wait for the perfect mood to chase the life they deserve. Emotion drives motion, but when you take control of your motion, you control the emotion. And when you control the emotion, there's nothing you can't do. The voice inside your head that either builds your future or destroys it. And every day, you're choosing which one gets the microphone. Most people don't even realize it, but they're walking through life with a built-in saboteur whispering in their ear, that inner critic. The one that tells you you're not good enough, not ready, not worthy. It's not truth. It's a habit, a pattern, a loop of fear that's been playing in your mind for years. And if you don't take control of that voice, it will talk you out of your greatness before you even take your first step. You weren't born with self-doubt. You didn't come into the world questioning your worth. That was programmed into you. Maybe it came from teachers who told you to sit down and be realistic. Maybe it came from parents who loved you but operated out of fear. Maybe it came from failure or rejection that cut deep and never fully healed. But wherever it came from, it's not permanent. It's not who you are. It's who you learned to be. And if you learned it, you can unlearn it. You've got to fire that voice right now. Evict it. Because if you're going to act as if nothing can stop you, then the first thing you must do is stop getting in your own way. That inner critic has no business driving your life. And it only stays in power because you listen. You argue with it, you negotiate with it, you try to prove it wrong, and in doing so, you validate it. But what happens if you stop arguing and start ignoring? What happens if you replace it with something stronger? What happens if you turn down the volume on doubt and turn up the voice of your inner coach, the one who believes in you, fights for you, sees your potential, even when you forget it's there? That inner coach is already inside you. It's the part of you that shows up when everything's on the line. It's the part that pushed through when you thought you couldn't. It's the voice that says, you've got this, keep going, one more step. But here's the catch. You've got to feed it. You've got to give it airtime. That voice needs to be conditioned. Just like a muscle, it grows through repetition. And the more you speak life into yourself, the stronger it becomes. The more you shift your internal dialogue from criticism to empowerment, the more unstoppable you become. Start paying attention to the way you talk to yourself. Would you ever speak to someone you love the way you speak to yourself when you fail? Would you ever tear down a friend the way you tear down your own dreams? Of course not. So why tolerate it in your own mind? You've got to become your number one supporter, your own fire starter, your own strategist and motivator and cheerleader. That doesn't mean you lie to yourself. It means you stop magnifying your weaknesses and start focusing on your strengths. You stop obsessing over what could go wrong and start obsessing over what you're capable of when you show up fully. Every time you take action from a place of empowerment, you build credibility with yourself. You prove to your brain that you can be trusted, that you follow through, that you are who you say you are. And over time, that inner critic begins to fade, not because it disappears completely, but because it no longer has power over you. You stop giving it your attention, and instead, you give your energy to the voice that fuels your progress. You give it to the voice that sees the big picture, that's connected to your vision, that remembers why you started and why quitting is not an option. And it's not just about thinking differently, it's about speaking differently. Language is power. What you say out loud reinforces what you believe internally. So speak with intention. Speak with fire. Stop saying, I'm trying. Say, I'm doing. Stop saying, I hope. Say, I will. These small shifts in language rewire your identity. You stop identifying as someone who's figuring it out and start owning the identity of someone who's already on their way. You speak as if it's already happening, as if the outcome is inevitable, and the brain begins to align with that energy. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not unworthy. You are simply untrained in the habit of believing in yourself on command. And that's a skill you can build. You can train your mind to default to strength instead of fear, to default to courage instead of hesitation. But it starts with awareness. It starts with deciding that you will no longer let the voice of doubt steer your life, that you are reclaiming the microphone, that from this moment on, the dominant voice in your head will be the one that builds you, not the one that breaks you. Because when you kill the inner critic and amplify the inner coach, you walk differently. You speak differently. You show up like someone who can't be shaken. And when the world throws chaos your way, you don't collapse, you rise. Not because the path is easy, but because you've decided to be the kind of person who finishes what they start. And nothing, not fear, not doubt, not even your past, can stop a person like that. The world doesn't respond to what you want, it responds to who you are. And if you want to create a life that reflects power, purpose, and possibility, then you have to embody those things before they ever show up. You have to carry yourself like the outcome is already yours. That's what it means to act as if nothing can stop you. It's not wishful thinking. It's not pretending. It's aligning every fiber of your being, your posture, your voice, your thoughts, your energy, with the reality you're committed to creating. You don't wait for results to show up to give yourself permission to believe. You give yourself permission now, and the results begin to follow. When you carry yourself with certainty, people feel it. When you speak with conviction, doors start to open. When you walk into a room with the energy of someone who knows where they're going, the world begins to rearrange itself in your favor. That's not magic. That's identity. That's alignment. Most people don't get this. They think if they fake confidence, they're being inauthentic. But this isn't about faking anything. It's about stepping into the most real version of yourself, the version that's not weighed down by doubt, fear, or the past, the version that's already inside you just waiting to be unleashed. Think about it. How do you show up when you're unstoppable? How do you move? How do you speak? How do you breathe? There's a pattern there, a way of being. And once you access that state, once you choose to live from that place, you change everything. You don't ask for confidence, you generate it. You don't wait for the world to validate you. You validate yourself through your presence, your action, your relentless commitment to who you're becoming. You have to understand that identity is not fixed. Who you are is not set in stone. It's not limited by your past. It's defined by what you decide to embody now. And the fastest way to shift your identity is to shift your behavior. Act like the person you want to become, not one day, not when it's convenient, now. Speak like them, think like them, move like them, make decisions like them. Do it until it's no longer a performance, it's just who you are. And yes, it will feel uncomfortable at first. Your brain will resist. It will say, this isn't you, this feels fake, this feels forced. But that resistance is the old identity fighting for survival. That voice doesn't mean stop. It means you're on the edge of a breakthrough. Every time you override that hesitation and step into power anyway, you weaken the old story. And eventually it collapses because you're no longer feeding it. You're no longer aligning with it. You've chosen something new, something stronger, something unshakable. You don't need anyone else to believe in you first. You don't need permission. You don't need the stars to align. What you need is a decision to show up every single day as if your vision is already real. That energy is magnetic. It attracts opportunity. It commands respect. And more importantly, it transforms you in the process. Because when you consistently act like the best version of yourself, you start to believe it. You start to feel it. And that feeling drives the kind of action that creates real momentum. The problem is, most people are living in reverse. They wait to feel confident before they act confident. They wait to see results before they believe they're capable. But the real game changers flip the script. They understand that emotion and identity are created through action. You become powerful by acting powerful. You become courageous by acting courageous. You rewire your nervous system through repetition, through consistency, through refusing to be anything less than what your vision demands. Ask yourself, what would shift if you walked into every situation like the outcome was already certain? How would your conversations change? How would your decisions change? How would your energy change? That's not arrogance. That's ownership. It's not about pretending you know everything. It's about knowing you'll figure it out. It's about showing up like a leader even when you feel like a beginner. It's about refusing to let fear dictate how you carry yourself. You can't fake energy. You can't fake presence, but you can choose them. You can decide that every room you walk into, you will own your space. You will bring the energy. You will speak your truth, and you will move with the posture of someone who's already won, because deep down, you know it's just a matter of time. That kind of embodiment is rare. That kind of alignment is powerful. It doesn't guarantee the path will be easy, but it does guarantee you'll walk it with power, regardless of what's in front of you. So don't wait, don't shrink, don't play small because your old identity is still echoing in the background. Choose now. Embody the future you now. Act, speak, move like nothing can stop you, because when you do, the world will rise to meet the version of you that finally decided to lead. Every challenge you face is an invitation. It's a test, not of your strength, but of your commitment to growth. Most people run from resistance. They see obstacles as signs to turn back, as if struggle is proof they're on the wrong path. But the truth is, resistance is the signal you're heading in the right direction. Growth never happens in comfort. You don't become stronger by staying safe. You become stronger by leaning into the very things that scare you, stretch you, and demand more from you than you thought you had. Pain is not the enemy. Fear is not the enemy. Doubt, failure, rejection, none of these are enemies. They're feedback. They're mirrors. They're opportunities to see what you're made of and who you're becoming. But if you see every challenge as a threat instead of a tool, you'll never access the power that lives on the other side. And that's what separates people who act as if nothing can stop them from those who freeze in place. The belief that everything they face is shaping them into something greater. When you hit a wall, and you will, it's not the end. It's a checkpoint. It's a moment to decide. Do I keep going? Do I find another way? Do I rise again? That decision is where power is born. Not when it's easy, not when everything is going your way, but in the middle of the storm, when everything in you wants to quit and you choose to rise anyway. That's what defines champions, not their victories, but their recoveries, their refusal to stay down. The people who make the biggest impact in life aren't the ones who avoid problems. They're the ones who learn to dance with problems. They find rhythm in the chaos. They find power in uncertainty because they know the problem is not the problem. The way you see the problem is the problem. Change the way you interpret challenge and you change your relationship to it forever. Instead of saying, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this building in me? Instead of saying, I can't handle this, say, this is where I get stronger. Because if you can train yourself to lean in when it gets hard, to stay focused, stay hungry, stay grounded, you become dangerous to anything that tries to hold you back. And suddenly, setbacks become setups Resistance becomes fuel. Life stops happening to you and starts happening for you. The truth is, pressure reveals the real you. You don't really know your strength until life presses you. You don't really know your vision until it's tested. You don't really know your heart until it's been broken and still beats with purpose. This is how warriors are made, not in the comfort of success, but in the furnace of adversity. So if you're facing a challenge right now, good. It means you're alive. It means you're in the arena. It means you're doing something that matters. You must learn to condition your nervous system to associate resistance with growth instead of pain. You rewire your brain every time you respond differently. When others would panic, you breathe. When others would fold, you stand. When others give up, you dig deeper. This isn't about pretending to be tough. It's about building true inner resilience, brick by brick, decision by decision. And over time, you begin to trust yourself. You start to realize that you can handle far more than you once believed. What happens when you stop seeing failure as final? What happens when every loss becomes a lesson, every delay becomes a refinement, and every painful moment becomes part of your preparation? You become unstoppable, not because you're invincible, but because you're unshakable. Because you've trained your mind to interpret resistance as growth in disguise. You've developed a mindset that no longer breaks under pressure. It builds under pressure. You will always have challenges. Life doesn't get easier, you get stronger. The goal is not to avoid struggle, but to evolve through it. And the moment you embrace that, you step into a level of freedom that most people never touch. You stop living in fear of the unknown. You stop playing small just to stay comfortable. You step boldly into the fire because you know you were built to handle the heat. This is how real leaders are formed. This is how legacies are created, not through easy wins, but through the grit it takes to keep moving when everything says stop. So don't fear resistance, train for it, welcome it, learn from it, and rise through it. Because on the other side of every challenge is the version of you that was always meant to lead. Not someday, not when it's easy, but now. Most people wait. They wait for clarity. They wait for the perfect time. They wait for permission, for approval, for the stars to align before they take the leap. But the truth is, clarity doesn't come before action, it comes through action. Momentum is not something you're handed, it's something you create. You build it by showing up, by doing the work, by refusing to stay still. The longer you wait, the heavier it gets. The fear grows. The self-doubt multiplies. The what-ifs get louder. But the moment you move, even just a little, everything starts to shift. You don't need to see the whole path. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to be 100% ready. All you need is a willingness to start. Because movement creates energy. It creates feedback. It creates opportunities you would have never seen from the sideline. The people who achieve extraordinary things aren't the ones with the perfect plan. They're the ones who are willing to move before it makes sense. They trust that progress will light the way, and it always does. There's a force that gets unleashed the moment you make a real decision. Not a maybe, not a someday, but a decision that says, I'm doing this, no matter what. I'm all in. That kind of decision sends a signal, not just to the world, but to your nervous system, to your subconscious, to your future self. It tells every part of you that this is real. And when you pair that decision with consistent action, you become a force that can't be stopped. Think of momentum like a train. At the beginning, it's slow. It takes massive energy to get it moving. The wheels grind. The engine strains. You push, and it feels like nothing's happening. But if you stay with it, if you keep pressing forward, suddenly it starts to roll. The movement becomes smoother. The resistance starts to drop. And eventually you reach a point where that same train can smash through barriers that would have stopped it cold at the beginning. That's the power of momentum. But you don't get it by thinking. You get it by moving. One of the biggest lies people believe is that they need motivation to act. But motivation is a byproduct of movement. You don't wait to feel ready. You get ready by acting. Action is what awakens your focus. It ignites your purpose. It gives you evidence that you're capable. And the more you act, the more momentum you build. Suddenly things that once felt impossible start to feel inevitable. Not because the path changed, but because you changed through the process of doing. You can't think your way into confidence. You can't sit still and expect belief to drop out of the sky. Belief is born in motion. It grows every time you keep a promise to yourself. Every time you take a step when it would have been easier to retreat. Every time you show up, even when you're scared. That's how trust is built. One courageous act at a time. And that trust becomes the foundation for unstoppable momentum. Don't underestimate the power of small, consistent action. It's not about taking massive leaps every day. It's about doing something, anything that moves you forward. A 5-minute win, a tough conversation, a rep at the gym, a call you've been avoiding. Each one builds a layer. Each one compounds. And over time, what looked like a mountain becomes a staircase. You don't have to sprint. You just have to keep climbing. The people who transform their lives aren't the ones who never fall off track. They're the ones who keep coming back to the track. They get knocked down, but they rise faster. They stumble, but they don't let it define them. They've trained themselves to bounce back, to adapt, to stay in the game no matter what. That resilience is what creates real momentum. Because when you decide that nothing, not fear, not failure, not fatigue, will stop you from taking the next step, you become a person who's impossible to hold down. You weren't meant to stay stuck. You weren't born to hesitate. There is a part of you that knows what to do, that's been screaming for movement, for action, for life. Stop silencing it with excuses. Stop waiting for perfect. There is no perfect. There is only now. This moment, this breath, this decision. You have everything you need inside you to take the next step. Not all the steps, the next one. And once you do, the one after that will reveal itself. Momentum is how you create your future. It's how you close the gap between where you are and where you're meant to be. So start now, move now, choose now, even if it's messy, even if it's hard, even if you're scared. Because once you're in motion, you become unstoppable, not because the path gets easier, but because you get stronger with every step you take.